The 2023 season has been a surprise, thanks to Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso, their new driver. The two-time world champion earned his 99th podium finish by placing third in his first race with Aston Martin. After that, RedBull driver Sergio Perez made fun of him and the British team, claiming they had copied Red Bull's design. Hello and welcome back, F1 enthusiasts! Today's video, we'll discuss the jabs and bombshells Sergio Perez has dropped on Aston Martin and other recent news about the sport since the start of the 2023 season. So, sit tight and make sure you watch to the end. So far, winning teams Ferrari and Mercedes have been displaced by Aston Martin. At the end of the season's first race, Fernando Alonso and the Aston Martin team succeeded with help from the Ferrari meltdown. They lived up to the early weekend and preseason hype by finishing third in their first F1 race together in Bahrain. Everyone at Aston Martin, including Alonso, hopes this is the first step to something bigger. Alonso had to work hard to earn this podium. He overcame both Mercedes and Leclerc to finish first with his new team. Alonso referred to this win as too good to be true and said that he anticipated the return to reality even during testing. The gap to Red Bull and the fact that the team that finished 7th last season beat them to the top spot on the podium should embarrass the big front-running teams on the grid. This wouldn't have happened if the Leclerc car had continued to run. Leclerc believed that he could have held Alonso off if his engine hadn't broken down. Contrary to the Ferrari team, Mercedes is the 4th fastest team, according to Lewis Hamilton, who didn't blame his team's issues on tire management. Instead, he claimed that the car needed to have more downforce rather than the tires. But he was still full of praise for Alonso and Aston Martin for the incredible work the team had done over the winter. It became clear during Bahrain pre-testing that Aston Martin had experienced the most significant exponential growth compared to the other teams. According to TechRabbit's prediction, based on the pre-testing results, Verstappen, Perez, and Alonso would finish in the top 3 if nothing else changed significantly. Aston Martin's move raises concerns for McLaren and Alpine about why those two teams have only been able to hold the front of the midfield for brief periods. McLaren did a better job closing the gap than the Renault Works team, reaching its peak in 2020 and even taking home a victory in 21. Ferrari's dramatic decline fueled the first of those seasons after an FIA clarification regarding engines. Still, McLaren has gone backwards since then, and the team is pinning all of its hopes on the new wind tunnel and simulator that will make all defenses moot by 2025. The main concern is why McLaren is yet to have the same success as Aston Martin. Could the issue be the wind tunnel? We can wait until 2025 for them to convince us, or we can accept that they aren't working hard enough. Alpine, on the other hand, does not have this kind of excuse. It performed better than McLaren and Aston Martin last year and this year, despite a shaky start to the season. Then Aston Martin went up the grading curve, making Alpine's performance over the previous 18 months appear substandard. Alpine argues that by building their wind tunnel, they are forging their path, which could give them a reason to slack off a little. In Bahrain, during the post-race press conference that the 3 drivers who made it to the podium attended, Perez remarked that it was nice to see 3 Red Bull cars on the podium. Perez jokingly said again, "We're all Red Bull drivers." This was a silent jab at the UK-based team, implying that they copied the Austrian team's design. Perez is one of many who have implied such. Helmut Marko, the chief advisor for Red Bull, criticized Alonso and Aston Martin. The 79-year-old believed that the Milton Keynes team could steal ideas from them thanks to the presence of former Red Bull engineers like Dan Fallows in the team. Although Aston Martin did not respond to these remarks immediately, it is clear that the base won't view these accusations favorably. Marko said that he did not find it surprising that 41-year-old Spaniard Alonso defeated every vehicle besides the 2 Red Bulls. He told Servus TV, "I predicted Alonso would finish 3rd before the race." Marko responded, the 3rd Red Bull, when asked who Red Bull's main competition in 2023 would be. He asserted that Dan Fallows' switch from Red Bull to Aston Martin, where he is currently technical director, had a significant effect. He says that the ideas Fallows had in his head couldn't be changed or erased. Therefore, there's every tendency for them to be brought to life in his new team. Copying the idea is acceptable, but can you copy in such detail without having our car's documentation? He boldly left this question with the media. Perez's remark was received surprisingly well by Alonso, but the question remains. Was the Mexican driver joking when he called Alonso's AMR23 a Red Bull vehicle? Verstappen, the race winner, found Perez's take amusing and laughed it off. Christian Horner claimed that Aston Martin copied Red Bull's design from the previous year and that the company has shown it can rise to the top of the grid. He expressed his happiness that the RB18 has received a new lease on life. He told the Bahraini media that this shows other teams it is possible, so they've undoubtedly done well over the winter. They say imitation is the highest form of flattery, so seeing the old car performing so well is encouraging. Horner said this, implying the RB18. When Warner was pressed to speak seriously about whether he regretted Fallow's departure, Horner responded, "No, I think we have a wonderful team, and everything has to evolve. Nothing stands still. It's great to see the three of them on the podium, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes and Ferrari follow the lead of Aston Martin at some point this year." Of course, Aston Martin will be annoyed by this in the future. But what do you think Red Bull is prepared to do this season? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Of course, not because it is not the design that they are stealing. It's the people doing it and engineering it in the first place. According to reports, Aston Martin acquired as many as 120 employees from Red Bull, with Fallows at the top of the list of those who left for the UK-based team. If this is the case, we can be confident that Aston Martin will be Red Bull's closest rival this season. So naturally, Verstappen and Perez are eager to experience this as a change from their monotonous dominance in the season's opening race. One couldn't help but wonder why Red Bull did so little to keep a person like Fallows on the team if they didn't want to whine about being poached by their competitors. However, there's only so much room in a team for talent, and Red Bull knew they couldn't keep everyone on the grid and expect them to be happy with the roles they play because everyone, in some way, wants more. At this point, one may wonder what Fallows has to say about all of this. We will discuss that next. But before we go on, there's a need for speed in subscribing to this channel, so you become the first to get the latest F1 news. Also, do well to like and comment. Dan Fallows said, "We are yet to fully realize the potential of the AMR23, according to the former Red Bull aerodynamicist, who was speaking to the media after this season's opening race. He added that the car is undoubtedly an evolution of the previous year's model, but an aggressive evolution. Although this rule has some reasonable restrictions, we could still improve upon the last car in several areas, including aerodynamics and mechanical performance. The ability to design a car from scratch by adhering to one specific concept was a massive benefit to the team," according to Fallows, who believes that if you develop a car around two different concepts, it will never reach its full potential. Fallows continued by discussing what made the team even better than it was in 2022, adding that there was a lot of momentum last year because we made significant progress in the second half of the season, and that progress has continued. It is a considerable improvement from where we were last year, and that was our primary goal. With that being said, that is it for today's video. What do you think about Aston Martin's progress and Checo Perez's and other Red Bull team's members' cheating allegations? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching!